Evening, fellow zombies. How are we doing today? It's 9:42 in the evening. It is the 29th of December, 2024. Countdown continues. The Weaver Agency of Roseman, California. Well, let's see. I can either do the zombie and go at you, or I can just do the diary of the griever named John Weaver, which is me. I'm confused. All right, guys, what's going on? So you already noticed I was a bit out of it because, well, when you get triggered by a few items, they tend to come back and bite you in the butt. And this one did. When I heard about President Jimmy Carter passing away, man, it just tore me ass apart. So I remember President Jimmy coming in, won by I don't know I don't know what the results were, but I know he was going after President Ford, who's succeeded President Crazy, which was Nixon. Nixon, let's see, he got two terms and then got his ass reamed by Congress, so he had to resign. That's what happens when you do a Trump act. Except he did it first. Ford was the vice president, and by Congress and by the Constitution of the United States, got elevated to the point of being the president of the United States. And for a short time, he was trying to run the country and pardoning Nixon at the same time. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But country wanted to change. They got Jimmy Carter. He was personable enough. They thought he knew what he was doing. Came down for economics? No, he didn't. But when it came down for foreign policy, yes. To a point anyway. I mean, actually, he did broker a peace deal between Israel and Egypt, and people keep forgetting about that one, didn't they? They did. Do you think anybody kept talking about what President Carter tried to do for the Middle East? Trying to make peace? It wasn't easy. I mean, Israel was already a hotbed as it is, but then Israel and Egypt going crazy over to Sinai. I think Israel had a major malfunction over that one. You have Menachem Begin and you had Anwar Sadat. I think Anwar Sadat was the Egyptian prime minister, president, yeah, head honcho. And Begin was the Israeli president. Prime minister, one of those two. Both of them had a gripe. Sinai Desert. Israel wanted more territory. Uh, Egypt wanted to hold them back, and it was bloody conflict out there. In order to secure what they have now, both of them needed intervention, and Carter volunteered, got Camp David up and running. Well, David was always running, and these two hammered it out. Took them a while. If you want to see something similar to that effect, uh, what season was it? About the fifth or fourth or fifth season of The West Wing, where two countries were trying to hammer out a peace agreement. Well, it still was in the state of Israel, but had the Palestinians and the Israelis trying to hammer out a peace deal going on. And see how that would be for the White House staff. But I remember this not through the history books, but watching it and happening on television when they would have the press out there taking pictures and film, and they would be telling people what was going on. It was history happening in front of me. Of course, I didn't realize at the time how dramatic and important this was. But this was very dramatic and very important. Now, if only we actually had diplomatic skills happening when the Iranians, the Revolutionary Army of the nut jobs out there, who decided to take over Iran. It was tough talk and tough rhetoric from President Reagan. That the year siege of the American embassy ceased, and we got the hostages back. I forgot how many people were injured or killed in the process. I do know there was a couple of Black Hawk helicopters that were going to be trying to rescue, and I think by equipment malfunction, weather, one of those two, and it failed. And Carter wasn't exactly very popular when it came down for the economics, concerning about gas, concerning about food, and prices going crazy. That it just wasn't, it just wasn't clicking on that kind of level. But the man knew how to negotiate with foreign leaders, though. That I remember about him when he was in office. A gentleman, man of God, humanitarian, Habitats for Humanity, helping out with them, of building homes for people. He was showing what humanity could be and should be. It wasn't demonstrating his faith, saying, I'm a Christian and I'm doing this. No, he's demonstrating it as a human being, helping another human being without throwing religion in people's faces. He's just giving that way. I was already triggered early this morning, when I heard about him, man. It was like hearing about Queen Elizabeth when she passed away. And I saw in her, it was my grandmother. I saw my grandmother's and Aunt May's face blended into one, and that death really tore me up. And looking at Carter, President Carter, I never known my grandpa. I'd never known what he was like. I know what his picture looked like, but I never had the chance to see him, meet him, talk to him. He died before I was born. But looking at President Carter, oh, I wish I had met him in my lifetime. I wish I had met him in my lifetime. Because he was demonstrating to me what a grandpa would be like. But he was demonstrating what a human being was like. Not throwing nationality or anything else like that. It was a human being helping out another human being. And he tore me up. I know. I was also more concerned about a certain ship captain's pet passing away and how much that meant and how hard it was. Yeah. Some milestones we have to think about coming up on the end of 2024. How many people that we cared about already passed away, and how much did they really mean to us? And what did I end up doing after taking just a small evening nap? Turn on YouTube and not hearing about the political crap people going after each other. No, somehow the algorithms just said, okay, let's give them some musical choices. What did you feel like back in the 80s and 70s? 70s, 80s, and 90s? Yeah, give me some music. So that's what I did. I was listening to some of the tops that they actually had. Top 8 through top 12 of different years, different styles. Yeah, I didn't want to go back to bed. I didn't want to go back to sleep at that point over there because I was feeling it. No, I was feeling the nostalgia, but I was feeling the times of how I was a young kid during that time and how much it meant listening to that kind of music. And some of them will bring back memories. Some of them bring back times when I was a kid growing into a teenager during those days. I'll tell you, something about music has a way of motivating people and moving them left and right. Especially when you lived in those times. And you remember them as a kid growing up. And what were you like in this particular year when you heard this particular song? Well, if we're talking about the greatest generation or basically passed on already, I guess Glenn Miller would not uh, mean anything to our generation right now. Even to the current generation, wouldn't mean a damn thing. Even Louis Armstrong wouldn't mean a damn thing. Lionel Hampton, Benny Goodman, just to name a few. Artie Shaw. My grandmother, when I was a wee bit of a lad, living with us in a house out in Laurelita, California, we'd be listening. Actually, times before that when she was in Bell, too. Bell, California, in a duplex. I was staying there overnight, weekends. I'll be listening to Wonderful, Wonderful, Lawrence Welk. I'm like, why the hell am I listening to this stuff? What is this? Let's do the polka! And I'm seeing these people shuffling around on the ground, on the stage floor. I'm like, in pure horror. I mean, maybe I could deal with horror films as a young kid, but I never had it. I never seen horror films as a young kid. I did see horror films, actually a weekly horror show called Lawrence Welk Music. No! When you hear the trumpets, the clarinets, and the cornets, they have that, looks like a plunger, the rubber end of the plunger, right on the bell of it. And I would listen. I'm like, and my grandmother is like, and mom is like, and I'm like, ah. I had to endure this hour of this music because after that was Space 1999. Bah, da, 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 da. If you guys ever watched the Space 1999 show, about human beings screwing up with their moon by putting nuclear waste. Damn thing gets overheated, magnetic heating and induction, and just moon just said bye bye, blows a zit, and the moon goes tearing out into the cosmos, leaving the Earth going, "What the hell did we just do?" We blew ourselves up. No. Oh, that was a hell of a 2-year run for that show. I loved it. I mean, I would watch it right after Lawrence Welk. And here's the thing. I can appreciate now, or maybe a couple of decades earlier to now, of that music, of that classical music from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, when you have the bands coming out. They had their own bands earlier on, but it was the music of the 20s, 30s, and 40s that I recognized more these days. And if I knew how to dance those dance steps, maybe I could have danced. You know. My brother and I tried ballroom dancing, but we listened to the same music. Wasn't very good at it, but we tried like crazy. It was just something to get us out of the house anyway. But part of that era, my brother was telling me that a distant relative of his own line from the Shaw family had been one of those band directors and an artist of his own right, R.T. Shaw. There was one piece of music that we actually have, still digital form. I listen to it from time to time. Uh, Begin to begin, something like that. And that is the only piece of music I think my brother and I ever listened to from Artie Shaw. But it was connected to him, and he was proud of it. I know from stories from my grandmother and my mother. Well, actually, Grandma told Ma told Dave, and now I heard it from Dave. Wish I could have heard it from Grandma on that one. That she was also a band director in her home, and she traveled in a selected area with her own band. Wasn't nationally known, but she made music. She played the piano. And from what I heard, she had a good voice. She taught and she played music. So I guess in that aspect, as I get older, I can appreciate it more and more. Which brings me back to the YouTube situation over there. We're talking about the 70s, 80s, and 90s. 70s, growing up, yeah, I'd listen to the radio. Who wouldn't listen to the radio? We'd listen to AM and FM. Sometimes the AM, but mostly sometimes the FM. Getting older, but AM mostly. KHJ, a real Don Steele. And then turn on the television, and we see American Bandstand, and then we'd see Soul Train. And listen to that music. And I wasn't like, ew. I'm like, cool. Because I also met other people who grew up under that music as well. And I learned to appreciate different types of music more and more. I took a music class, standard, in junior high. Well, they did call it junior high back then. Now they called it middle school. But, back then, we're talking the days of 70s and 80s, yeah, they called it junior high. Guy named Mr. Kaplan. He was the music director and teacher in the class of the school. If there was any orchestra, he's directing it. If there was anybody singing, he's leading it. Guy knew his music back and forth. He knew the types of music, instruments. Nice guy too. It made me appreciate more and more of the types of music I was listening to. I may not have been able to use a musical instrument. There was no way in hell I was going to be doing that. I mean, I tried it. Tried piano, didn't work for me. Tried trumpet, didn't work for me. I don't know, somehow playing the instrument wasn't in my blood. But listening and appreciating to the musical tones, that was in my blood. So I could appreciate. But only up to a certain point. I mean, I could be eclectic to a point, but after that, forget it. I can't stand a lot of rap music, but some things, when actually I hear it, or something I can latch onto, yeah, then I'll get into it. So just something I had just get myself maneuvered into. So watching YouTube, I'm watching all these old shows, actually old videos, and remembering all this music. Some of the music I still have loaded on my laptop, so I'll probably be listening to that while New Year's Eve goes on. And then New Year's happens for 2025. Then I'm supposed to deal with how. I'm asking myself the question on that one. I know everybody else is going to be getting ready for the food and scarfing out and fireworks because they've already tested it out here in Roseman. But the music, man, the music brings out memories of things and places I've been to. I mean, I can listen to the old band music, and I can put myself as a kid watching Lawrence Welk, and that's about it. But when we're talking about the 70s, we're talking about the 80s, we're talking about the 90s, things I was remembering, things I experienced. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. 2000s was basically blurred because survival, work, 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 work. Maybe listen to some music. Maybe a few of the artists I'm hearing these days, some of them about in their 30s and 40s have already been making tunes for about 10, 15 years, or maybe 20 years. And I'm listening to them. I'm like, okay, cool. I know a few artists, but the music. Yeah, I go from death to music at this point in this video. Uh, I don't ask me. It's just kind of a weird thing to do. It's pretty weird. But I'll probably be getting some files set up so I can look at some stuff and maybe have something ready. Maybe something ready that I can work with and get into because let's just face it, 2024 felt like it sucked. I hate to say it, but it felt like it sucked. But that being said, in a way, maybe it hadn't sucked. Maybe it was a way for me to understand more and more about what I lived through and dealt with and experienced. I can feel like a total jerk about things, but this wasn't a jerk. We all have our individual taste. We all have our individual ways of looking at and hearing about our lives and music. And music is imperative for us. It tells us who and what we are and what we're doing. So I am going to get myself ready, probably tonight or in the morning, getting some files loaded up on my cell phone. So if I'm going to be trapped in the bathroom again, it's deliberate. And just listen to the music. I'll be with my dog at that point. She can't stand the fireworks, either can I. Can't. I used to, a long time ago. Not these days. Okay, we'll do more when we can. Till then.